Hi, I'm Asif Ali. Welcome to the apartment. Ali Baluch is not here, my co-host. The guy that makes each episode a little bit more depressing. He's not here today. I'm here, the fun guy. The guy you want to take home to meet your parents. Asif Ali is here. I was in India. How was that like? It was great. Okay, I ate the food. I talked to the people. They were super impressed that someone this handsome had traveled to see them. And on top of that, I met with some Bollywood people who were like, Asif, please be in anything that we make. We desperately need you. We're getting destroyed by Hollywood. And I frankly said, honestly, if you can't work around my podcast schedule, I don't want to do it. So I'm back here with you guys. I don't know how the episodes were with just Ali Baluch. I'm guessing they were terrible. But I'm here with my just trademark enthusiasm. Look at my neck movements. And I'm here to interview interesting, amazing people. Okay, Ali's in Virginia. I don't know what he's doing. I'm here, okay? I'm here for you. And our guest this week is jobrani, okay? He's an amazing comedian. He's an actor. He has a movie out. He has a book out. And he's going to be on a new CBS show called Superior Donuts on CBS. So he's busy, to say the least. He has children, and he has an Indian wife. So we get into all of that. He's a very interesting person. Here's the episode. I think you'll like it. And I want you, after you watch this, to just flood the internet with the hashtag, we only need one Ali, meaning me. He'll figure it out. I'm Asif Ali. Enjoy the episode. We have here our guest, Mr. jobrani.
Hello,
now let me give you, we have an intro here. We do intros really nicely here.
Awesome.
So Maz is an Iranian-American stand-up comedian, writer, and actor.
Yes.
He has been featured in 13 Going on 30, the film.
Yes.
Grey's Anatomy.
Yes.
True Blood. Friday After Next.
Yes.
And my personal favorite show, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yes.
Okay?
Where I played an Indian guy.
You played an Indian guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did it all. In 2005, he created the Axis of Evil comedy tour, featuring other brown Middle Eastern comedians.
Co-created with Ahmed, Aaron Cater.
Yes. Maz currently, or used to have his own podcast.
I had my own podcast.
The Minivan Men.
Minivan Men.
You have a book out?
Book out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a terrorist, but I've played one on TV.
Absolutely. You have a stand-up special on Netflix.
I'm not a terrorist, but I played one on TV, as well as my Brown and Friendly special.
Absolutely. And this week, his feature film, Jimmy Westwood, will be available for digital download. Welcome to the apartment.
Thanks, Asif Ali.
You're very welcome. Now, first of all, we were talking before we started. You were obsessed with Donald Trump information.
I'm realizing that I'm addicted to my phone because it's right there. It's at the tip of your fingertips, right?
Always that.
And I'm very obsessed with this whole election. It's driving me nuts that this guy is even close.
That he's very close.
He's very close, and his supporters will not stop. It's interesting because I'm supporting Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
But if you tell me, hey, Hillary has done some things that were not kosher, she's done some things that were wrong, I'll say, yeah, I agree with you. She has not been perfect.
Right.
I always say that she's a politician that we've had in the public eye for 30, 40 years. And I believe just to be a politician, you're going to have some missteps.
You have to.
Because first of all, you're under a magnifying glass the whole time. Secondly, just you got to play ball with people. You can't, if you really want a politician who is completely clean, not even Bernie Sanders, Ralph Nader, who stands no chance of ever winning anything, because he's the only guy who's always been like, yeah, you know, my...
He doesn't want to play the game.
Yeah, it's like I raise my money from trees. You know, we plant a tree, we sell it.
We get the sap from the tree. We sell that as maple syrup, and that's how I fund my campaign.
I've always felt so bad for Ralph Nader. He's the only one who's like, the world's falling apart. You know, he was like out. He was out front on everything.
He was a nice guy.
Nice guy.
That's his one problem. He
Yeah.
can't be a nice guy. Second problem is he's too ahead of his time. At that time, he was saying stuff that we are now accepting.
Yeah, it's like global warming. This guy was ahead of it.
And people are like, screw you, Ralph.
Yeah, there's no chance.
Yeah.
No chance. So he had no chance. So then you run into a politician like Hillary Clinton, and you just got to play ball with different, you got to play ball with the banks. You got to pass, you say some things that later on you might regret.
Do you think that happened to Bernie?
I'm sure with Bernie as well.
Yeah.
Like there was criticism about Bernie and the NRA and him being pro-gun, etc. Anyway, so the point is, I'm willing to be somewhat objective with the Hillary stuff and go, okay, she's made some.
Okay, so you're so obsessed with Trump information that because of that and other things, you created a sketch.
Oh yeah, I did that. Did you see the sketch?
Yeah, I saw the sketch.
Yeah, so that sketch came about because sometimes some things just hit you and you go, this is ridiculous. So he can't. This is part of what I'm talking about is that he says so many things without a real way to implement them.
No.
But it just seems so obvious to me. So anyway, with all that in mind, he'll say stuff and it's just not implementable. So he came out a while back and he did that little speech where he's like, the way I'm going to stop these immigrants and terrorists from getting into this country, I'm going to do some extreme vetting. I call it extreme vetting. And I'm watching that. I'm like, what the hell is extreme vetting? Nobody has, right? Nobody knows. Yeah. And were you born here?
Yeah.
Okay. I was born in Iran.
You were born in Iran, yeah.
So I had to take the citizenship exam. And I know that when you become a citizen, they ask you questions. At least I got mine like 20 years ago or so. And some of those questions were 20 years ago. This is 1995-ish.
Yeah.
It would say, are you or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? And at the time, that was something that was written during the Soviet era. Right. But it was still on the thing. And I was like, no. And then it goes, are you or have you ever been a member of the Fascist Party? That's like World War II. I'm like, no. And then the interesting thing to me, though, was even if I were a member of those parties, I would just put no. Right. I'm not going to be like, okay, got me.
So his new version would be something along the lines of like, hey, are you a part of ISIS? And who is that honest?
And who is that honest? And also, I believe that they would be trained to say no.
That'd be hilarious. The first part of ISIS is you have to be 100% honest all the time.
Right.
1,000% clarity is. Okay, so you were born in Iran. Yeah. And you and your family, how did all of your family come at the same time?
Yeah, so late 78, the revolution happened, the protests in the streets of Iran. The revolution of Iran basically is dated as 1979 because that's when the Shah left and Khomeini came. But towards the end of that year, late 78, as the protests were increasing, my father was on business in New York, and he sent for my mother to bring me and my sister out for our winter holidays. And we honestly, I think that a lot of people back then thought that the Shah was going to squash the whole thing. Squash. I think my parents thought we'd come out for 2 weeks and then return. Yeah. So we actually left my brother, who was my baby brother, who was like 6 months older, so we left him back in Iran. But while we were out, it just got worse and worse, and so we stayed, and then we had to bring him out later. But it was 79 basically, 78, 79 when we came to America.
So you left because of the revolution?
Because of the revolution,
specifically because of the revolution.
Yeah, because my father had been successful under the Shah, and at the time, it wasn't that he was necessarily connected to the Shah, but at the time they were persecuting a lot of people who had done that. It became this real bloody revolution. Because what was interesting about Khomeini, this is explaining why I'm so obsessed with Trump. I compare him to Khomeini. I really think he's right there. Yeah. That's why, as a kid, I had to leave my motherland because of this thing that happened, and I feel like it's happening. Maybe that's what it is.
I think it is. You're having like flashbacks of like, man, am I gonna have to leave this home now? Yeah. And go somewhere else? Where are you gonna go?
Bro, my wife was asking, she's like, where are we gonna be? She goes, where are we gonna watch the election? She's excited about it, and she's Indian, and I was like, we're watching it at LAX, ready to split.
At the Tom Bradley International.
Yeah. If Bozo wins, we're out.
So you guys all took a flight. What was your dad doing out here for business?
My dad was a self-made millionaire. He had an electric company in Iran, and so what happened was he told me the story of something along the lines of like, in the 50s or something, the Shah's regime nationalized electricity basically, and they contacted a few of the companies and said, we're going to contract out through you. So my dad was one of the guys. He said he got a call from one of the ministers. They said, let's sit down. And they said, we're going to start using you. And so that just like, made him be very rich. He reminds me of, my father's passed away now, but he reminded me a lot of Don Corleone from The Godfather.
Really?
Yeah, my dad was one of these guys.
Composed?
Not just composed. He's a guy that if you needed something done, you'd go to him and he'd take care of it. Like he was so well connected. He was very generous, and he would tell all these stories, and I wasn't sure if some of them were hyperbole. But then later, in life, I would run into people that he'd helped, and they would say like, they were like, your father gave me an apartment at one point, and that apartment helped us get out of the country. I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
That's insane. So
Yeah.
you guys decided to move permanently to the U.S. Where in the Bay? Is that where you guys?
Yeah, so
located?
we first landed in New York, where my father was on business. Actually, it was interesting because he was on business, and he was staying at the Plaza Hotel. Rich Iranian dude staying
That
at the
is fancy.
Yeah, penthouse at the
Oh,
Plaza
yeah.
Hotel, and it's right across the street from FAO Schwartz.
Oh my God, this is like your dream.
Yeah, 78. I didn't even know what it was. I was just like, oh, so I'm a 6-year-old kid in New York.
You're just
and
like,
I'm
leave me here.
dude, it was amazing. I was like, oh, there's a toy store right across the street. And then we get to be upstairs in the penthouse ordering like ice cream sundaes.
Yeah.
Just like hanging out. It was awesome.
You were living like an 80s movie.
Dude, the revolution was working out for me, is what I'm trying to say. But then I think we looked for some houses in New York, and it was right in the dead middle of winter. And I think my mom just was like, let's get out of here.
This.
Yeah, so we ended up on the West Coast, Northern California, Marin County, which is one of the richest counties in the country.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was a very idyllic upbringing. Grew up in a city called Tibron. And then I went to Cal undergrad, studied political science.
Well, how long did it take you? Did you already know English when you were in Iran?
Yeah, because the school I was at was an international school. So as a matter of fact, I think my kindergarten or preschool, whatever that year would be, it was English. It was all English.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until you got into first grade where they did half day English, half day Persian. And so I was just learning how to read and write because I was in first grade when we left.
And your parents transitioned pretty quickly? Like they were fine?
They probably took some time to transition. It took them a while because they went, when you're a foreigner and you come to a new country, you take advantage of what you have. So a lot of them they had friends here, and all the friends were Iranians.
Oh, okay.
So they would just go in those circles, mix in the circles. And it wasn't until later as they started to learn English and get better at it. I had been educated in English, but they hadn't. So, God, I should ask my mom if she spoke any English before she came to America. I don't think she did.
My mom didn't. And when she came here, she had an incredibly hard time, which is like later on, I realized that because like when immigrant parents or people move here, people don't realize how hard English is to learn as a language.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you have to come here, get a job, keep that job, and go to school all without knowing a language. So it's like, it's incredibly difficult.
It
and I
is.
guess you just sort of figure it out through, you're on a cliff.
Yeah.
And you're like, either you figure this out or you're going to jump off the side of this cliff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like it was just a lot of pressurized learning.
Yeah, you have to do it.
Meanwhile, I'm like on Rosetta Stone again to like beef up my Hindi. And it's like, it's so casual.
Yeah.
Because that's like, no one is outside being like, if you don't know Hindi, you're not going to be able to cash a check at Chase
you don't
Bank.
eat. Yeah.
So I'm just like, I'll figure it out. It's
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like when you realize, like, because it's funny because we as children will look at our parents sometimes, roll our eyes, and be like, "Oh, come on, really?" But then if you step back, put yourself in their shoes for a minute, you go, "Wait a minute." It's like you tomorrow having to get up and move to Brazil
and be like, you have to know it fluently, otherwise people everywhere you go will be like, what the fuck is this guy's accent about?
Yeah, not only accent, but what the hell is he talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. I can't hire you. How am I going to hire you in an office if you don't know how to speak Portuguese?
Yeah, people don't understand you.
Yeah.
And you keep bringing weird food into the
Dude,
office.
that's crazy. That's crazy. And you might be looking at your money and going like, oh my God, I'm running out of money. Like I got to figure out, and that's what you end up washing dishes.
Exactly.
Scarface.
Okay, so you were in school. You seemed to assimilate decently well.
Yeah, I did all right. I was good at sports. That helps.
That helps a lot.
Yeah, I was pretty good at I think my English was good enough. And
so there was no bullying or anything.
A little bit came. No, a little bit later. Like I think what happened was the other thing I used to do was I had a sweet tooth, so I'd go shopping with my mom, and she would have a cart filled with her stuff, and I'd have a cart filled with Ho-Hos and Twinkies and stuff. And I would start taking a bunch of those to school, and then I always had so much, I'd be passing it out. So it was kind of like making friends with the sweets.
I see.
But I think
it was a very Eastern thing to do.
Dude, you got to bribe. You got to bribe.
You have to gift people stuff and then get on their good side.
That's how it works.
So then you go to UC Berkeley, which is...
Yeah, I was at Cal. I studied political science.
That's a tough school to get into.
Yeah, I actually like. I was playing soccer in high school, and I think that helped a little bit. I think what happened was I had a friend who got in. I had decent grades.
Yeah.
I had I think I had like a 3.5, which is like a B+ average.
good.
And I took the SAT. It was funny because my math was always good, but my English was okay.
I was the reverse of you.
English second language for me. And so the first time I took the SAT, I think I got 700 on the math, which was really good.
Yeah.
And then I got 450 on the verbal. So I came in at 1150.
Yeah, yeah.
As opposed to 1400. 1400 would have been
Anywhere you wanted to go.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
But 1150 was not that great. So, but then I had some friends who were on my soccer team who had even worse grades and worse SAT, but they had contacted the Cal soccer team and gotten in through soccer.
Nice.
So I had not done that, and I was a pretty good player, like, you know, and then I think I was going to go to UC Davis. And then I think I told my dad, I was like, my dad wanted me to go to something. He's a very proud man. So it was like,
I want to go to Ivy League.
Yeah, it's like Harvard. My dad became Indian. He's like, Harvard, for you, Harvard. And I was like, Dad, I can't go to Harvard. And my dad comes from the, I will find someone, we'll get you into Harvard.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Dad, I don't know about this. And so I think once he found out that I had friends that were getting in through soccer, he contacted some guy that he knew in Berkeley who knew a teacher who got in touch with a soccer coach. I don't know if they bribed the guy. I don't know if they sent him a bottle of wines. I don't know what they did.
I like that.
But the soccer coach was like, the next thing I hear, the soccer coach is like, they were like, you're in.
I like the idea of the soccer coach being drunk and being like, they just get him drunk and he's like, oh, I'll just let the guy in.
He didn't care. Cool. Yeah, because listen, the thing, it wasn't like I had an F. You know, I had a pretty good thing going, and I was a good soccer player. You know, I tried out for the soccer team. I did not make the soccer team. They put me on their quote unquote freshman team that then never turned into anything.
You're just wearing outfits and not playing.
Yeah, but that helped me get into
a good
Cal.
School.
Yeah, and then while I was there, Cal, I actually did well. So I did do well throughout, and
you did poli-sci?
Political science with a minor in Italian. Yeah, so it was great.
So you finish college.
Yeah.
You get out of there. What are you doing now?
So then my parents, I don't know what your parents wanted from you being Indian parents, but Iranian parents had wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor.
Same. Mine wanted me to be an engineer or a doctor, followed immediately by wife and children.
Yeah, absolutely. That's their goal. That's their plan. So my parents wanted a lawyer, doctor. So when I did political science at Cal,
they're like, okay.
Yeah, the idea was to become a lawyer from there. But then while I was abroad in Italy, there was a professor. His name was Vincenzo Pace, and he was great. And I loved what he was doing. And and he was teaching the sociology of Islam. And I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll be a professor.
Yeah.
So when I came back to the U.S., I decided instead of going to grad school to law school, I'm going to go get my PhD in political science and just be a professor.
Yeah.
So I came to UCLA to start a PhD program in political science. And what had happened was throughout high school, I had always done theater, and I was always good on stage. And I was inspired by Eddie Murphy when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be like Eddie Murphy. So I'd done plays. I'd never tried to do stand-up. But when I was at UCLA, I thought, you know what? Even though I'm here for my PhD, let me just go see what's going on in the theater department. So I went over there.
Even though the way colleges work, you're not supposed to be over there.
You're not supposed to, but I'm enrolled in the school, so I can be over there. So I went over there, and they were casting for their main stage play. They do every quarter. They do a main play where the Master of Fine Arts students, the MFA directing students, direct this huge play.
Right.
So I auditioned and I got it, and so I started doing the play. And so
what was the play?
It was called Surely Not All in Vain. It was about a guy who's married, but he's closeted, and his struggles. And I played his father, kind of an overbearing father. And it was great. It was very avant-garde, very just out there. And they had a budget, and they had this like amazing stage that was designed. It was just they put money towards it.
Or people were some of the theater students, I can imagine, like, why is this guy here?
I'm sure, yeah.
You're not a thespian.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of more, because they'd all been in these programs for 4 years, and they're trying to get into these plays.
Personally, I would be a little depressed. I'd be like, I've dedicated my life to this, and a guy who wants to be a professor has taken a role for me.
So not only that, but because of doing that, the lady who was going to do the master, she was getting her MFA in the spring. Yeah. She told me that she's directing a play, and she wants me to do that. So I ended up doing 2 of those.
So you were like the Jennifer Lawrence of that theater school. They were just throwing you roles left and right.
Big.
Oh, I was, you were outside the system.
I was Kevin Hart back then, you know. Like, he's in everything. But here's what's crazy is so at night I would go rehearse. By day I would go to class, and in political science classes, inevitably our conversations would turn to what is our purpose as political scientists? What are we doing? And I'd always thought it was about teaching, about being involved in the debate and getting all these students and minds and all this. But really, it always boiled down to, we need to publish or perish. That's what it is. You need to come up with a theory on some subject and write a book about it, and then go around the world to different conferences and defend your ideas.
So just pick an opinion. It's like improv. You pick a side,
yeah,
and then you just defend it till death.
It's like your comedy special. You got a special, but now you got to tour around the world and tell people why your special is good.
Yeah.
So it became kind of depressing. I was like, wow. And then the teacher would say, if you're lucky, a politician may pick up on one of your theories and use it for something. So I was like, wow, that's kind of depressing.
So it seems like a lot of it was just like, do something, and then hopefully 100 years after you're dead,
someone will quote you.
Someone will make a statue out of you.
Yeah. So that was by day, but by night we were rehearsing for these great plays, and I was alive on stage. I was like, this is it. So that's when I decided to. I wanted to drop out.
Oh man.
Yeah,
that's
and then
tough.
It was tough. So I dropped out, and then I started taking some acting classes. And I quickly realized that Hollywood was not like the theater at UCLA, because you go from UCLA, where they are putting money towards a very artistic endeavor, and they have these minds that are pushing the envelope.
They're doing it for the benefit of art.
And it's really cool, and you're on stage. To then going to the Backstage West and looking up productions and going to an audition. I went to an audition in some like hair salon. I guess the guy's friend owned the hair salon. And the script was shitty.
Yeah.
And I'm standing in line, and I'm trying to get this.
The script is almost always shitty.
Always shitty. And I'm there, and there's like, I felt like 100 people there. And I'm going, we're all trying to get this one part.
So the acting thing was a little daunting to you. You're like, this doesn't seem as supportive and or welcoming as the theater was.
Not at all. So then I thought, you know what? Let me just get a real job. And I got a job. So part of I was kind of, I think throughout my life, I was kind of looking for compromise, because I was like, I need to do something maybe that'll
satisfy
the parents, and then also allow me to be somewhat artistic. So then I thought, hey, what if I get into advertising? I can write commercials. That was kind of a creative thing. And I was doing some silly ideas. I had some silly ideas for commercials. I was like, that's maybe what I'll do. And so I had a degree in political science from UC Berkeley, and I sent out 25 letters to 25 advertising agencies, thinking someone will hire me. And I wanted any job at all, because to be a creative in an advertising agency, you have to have a portfolio. You do all these mock ads, then you submit it to the creative department, and then hopefully they will hire you as a junior copywriter or a junior art designer. But I didn't want to wait. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know what to do with coming up with a portfolio. So I was like, I just want my foot in. I want to go and learn about it. So I sent out all these applications, and I said, I'll take any job. So one company got back and said, we have an administrative assistant position, basically secretary. Do you want to be a secretary in the account department, which is the furthest away from the creative side?
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm in. I'll do it. So I took it. I took this job at a place called Ketchum, and they did like their big client was Acura.
Oh, okay.
And the place was hustling and bustling, and it was pretty funny, because part of it was to have an income. Yeah. Part of it was to satisfy a potential creative desire. Right. Part of it was to satisfy my mom.
So what point? So you were there. You were doing that. You got this job as this administrative assistant. At what point did you? And how long were you doing that until you decided, I want to start doing stand-up?
So what happened was then I started working at an agency, and I thought maybe there's something here. And then a friend of mine was doing a play. Some Iranian guy in LA. Yeah. They'd written a play. It was the first time there was a play for the Iranian community in Los Angeles, but in English. It was written in English. And they needed actors for it. And they had me come out and help them kind of put it together. And I ended up playing the lead for that play. And then the play became a big. My friends are Persian Jews. Okay. In the play, it was called the Blind Date, which is blind date with a Persian accent. Yeah. And it was about a rich,
which at the time was probably the most hilarious title for a play.
Amazing. Yeah. Had not been heard of.
People were like, I'm sold. Have you heard of this title?
Yeah. It's called the Blind Date. And it was interesting because I played a charlatan Iranian guy who's pretending to be rich on a blind date with a gold digging Iranian girl. And it was a total hit in the Persian Jewish community. And so that started becoming a hit, and I became kind of like a little mini celebrity in the community.
Ooh, you got
and
some shine.
I got
Which
some shine.
probably is good for your parents. Probably loved it.
My mom
Your
loved it.
yeah.
My mom loved it, and actually it was kind of interesting because the first time we did it, I was still living at the house, and we're not Jewish, but not that that matters. But
Right.
like the Persian Jewish community was really into it, so we did it. The first time we did it, it was at a restaurant in Culver City.
Yes.
And the capacity was like 100, and like I think that my buddies who produced it sold like 200. It was like overflowing.
Oh fuck.
People at the bar just like watching, and we
Yeah.
made it like a talent night. So there was different people playing different, like doing different things, and then at the end there was a 45-minute. It was actually a one act at the time, 45-minute one act basically of this blind date, and it was like people were dying.
You
People
were lighting that place up.
lit the place up. I came off stage. People were like, "Let me buy you a drink. What's up, dude? That was the funniest thing." Da, 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 da. My mom's there. My other relatives are there. And then my mom's like, "That was great." And she's like, "I gotta leave." I was like, "All right, I'll see you guys to the door."
That was your Hamilton.
My Hamilton, exactly. I was Manuela, whatever his name is. I walked my mom and the family to the door, and we're standing outside waiting for the valet to pull their car up, and they pull the car up, and there's people recognizing me. That's the guy. That's, hey, great job. I go, thank you. My mom gets in the car with her cousins, and as they're driving off, I don't think she meant it intentionally, but she was like, she pulls down the window. She's like, "Good job. Oh, and don't forget, you have to wash the toilets tomorrow or tonight or whatever." I was like, oh my God. And it was such a moment. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh no.
But that's what your mother's there for.
Yeah.
To ground you.
To ground you, yeah.
So, but it was a hit. And then in that, I was very much bitten again by the bug. And I was like, I love this. So I was doing that. We continued to tour with that play. And I was doing it as a hobby.
In LA?
LA, then we went to New York, then San Francisco, then we would do another.
Oh, wow.
We would reproduce other plays. This became like this little cult thing.
Yeah.
We took it to the Wilshire Ebell. Like there was like 1,100 people coming. It was big. And then eventually what happened was I had always wanted to do stand-up. I tried an open mic twice in my early 20s.
How did that go?
It went all right.
Yeah.
It was just some silly act I put together with different accents. And so it wasn't until I was in my mid-20s, I'd moved to another ad agency. I was doing this play still, and I was dubbing the play. We had VHS copies of it. And at the advertising agency, we had a dubbing room. So I was making copies for all the other guys in the play.
Yeah.
So I was just making copies, and there was an older guy there. His name was Joe Ryan. He was in his 60s.
Yeah.
Very nice guy. He was a producer at the ad agency. He was complimentary to everybody. Sweet guy. And he's in the back of this dubbing room watching a little bit of the play. And he goes, "Hey, you have some good comedic timing. Have you ever thought about acting professionally?" I said, "Joe, when I was in high school, I was in a great program, and the teacher said I can do it professionally. In college, I took one acting class at Cal. Teacher encouraged me to pursue it. And I said, I just never knew what to do. And then I said, right now I'm at this ad agency. I'm 26 years old. And I said, my goal is to stay in advertising for another 4 years, get to a point where I can become a copywriter and work freelance, and then maybe do freelance copywriting for half the year and then audition for half the year."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Let me talk to you." And he took me in the office, and he goes, "Listen, I'm in my 60s. And he goes, "When I was in my 20s, there were some things I wanted to do that I never got around to." So because if you really want to do it, do it. Don't wait another 4 years. Go for it. So it was a light bulb moment. And I enrolled in sketch comedy or improv classes.
Where
at the Acme Theater.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was friends with Alex Borstein, who had been at the Acme.
She's amazing.
She's great. So I enrolled in the improv classes, and while I was there, Judy Carter was taking improv at one of those classes.
Wow.
And she was like, "Hey, I teach a stand-up comedy class." And I was like, "You know what?" I go, "I've tried stand-up a couple of times. I've always wanted to do stand-up because I was a big fan of Eddie Murphy's. But I said I never knew how to write." So she said, "Yeah, come take the class." So then I took her stand-up class, and that helped me figure out how to write. And that was 18 years ago.
Now, at what point did you tell your family, like, I'm just a stand-up now?
Oh, I told my mom right away that I was doing it. And I think, I stayed in the advertising agency. I didn't leave right away.
Oh, okay. So you didn't make a clean break. You were like, I'm still working here, and then I'm also going to do this at night.
Yeah, because what happened was I went to my boss at the time and I said, "Listen, I'm making this is in my mind. This is now my priority. If a audition comes up, I got to go do it." And my boss was cool enough. This guy named Bruce Dundor, we're still friends to this day. He was cool enough that he was like, "Listen, you're not on a series or anything. You're not, he goes, if you got to go audition, just let me know. Use your lunch break, whatever, and let's make it happen." So I would be in the ad agency by day. I'd go run off and do my improv classes at night.
Yeah.
And then from there, when I did the stand-up, they said, you know, you got to get on stage as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
So I started going to coffee shops and whatever, and just getting up.
And you got in at the Comedy Store at the time?
Yeah. So it was I remember what happened was there was a place called Masker's Cabaret on 3rd Street. There was a pizza Italian restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
A little upscale, not super upscale, but a little
Yeah.
upscale. But this guy would do comedy shows on, I don't know, Tuesday nights. And one of the shows I did, there was a girl named Christy McBrayer, who was a comedian from, I think, Louisiana. And she and Mike Marino had that room. And I think while I was doing that, and because, you know, when you do bringer rooms,
Yeah.
there's always the 1 or 2 guys who are probably running it who are veteran comedians.
Yeah.
Mike Marino at the time was the guy. And then there's a handful of new comedians who suck. So, but out of the guys that sucked, I probably sucked I was always one of the guys who sucked the least.
Yeah.
Because I'd been on stage for
Right.
my
You
whole
have
life.
experience.
I was comfortable on stage. Plus, I was able to bring 5-6 people every time.
Right.
When I did the Maskers, I believe that's how it went. I did Maskers, and then Christy McBrayer, I think, was like, listen, I do another bringer room at the Comedy Store. You want to come do that? And I was like, sure. Now I'm doing the belly room at the Comedy Store. And I keep going up, keep bringing people, starting to meet people. And eventually, I think I asked Mike Marino to recommend me. And at first he was like, I don't know if you're ready. I was like, come on, buddy, come on. So he recommended me. And then I auditioned for Mitzi Shore, and I got in. And
For people who don't know,
yeah,
Mitzi Shore is the owner.
She's the mother of Pauly Shore. And the way you do it is you have to be recommended by a regular for her to watch you. Now, this was back then. This was in probably 99 or 2000. She's now not doing as well, so she's not at the club anymore.
Right.
Now there's the booker that will watch you. But you used to go there, and they would recommend you. You would go up on a Sunday night in front of what's called an open mic night. And they have just watched the shittiest comedy in their lives, sometimes being yelled at. A lot of times these comedians would go up there at the Comedy Store, yell at the audience, and they'd be shell-shocked.
Oh, my God.
And then at the end of that open mic, they would put up 3 or 4 people who have been recommended to Mitzi. And you would go up.
You figure it out.
And you would go up and you would do 3 minutes instead of in front of a shell-shocked audience. And if she liked you, word would get back to you through one of the bookers or whatever that you should come back the following week and do 6 minutes. You come back and do 6 minutes. If you still did well, come back and do 10 minutes. If you still did well, you can be she would then pull you aside and be like, you're a regular.
Wow.
So I went through all that, and I became a regular. And then I just started.
You were just there. You were doing a ton of shows. How did Access of...
Actually, what came about, so first of all, when Mitzi made me a regular, there were no other Middle Eastern comedians at the club. No Middle Easterners, no Indians, no Muslims, no nothing. I was that flavor.
It was you and white people.
Me and white people, black people, Mexicans, blah, blah, blah. So when she first made me a regular, so what happens is on that 10-minute audition, she's sitting in the back of the room. There's a little exit door that you have to pass, and she's sitting right next to the door. Yeah. And the room is dark. And
very dramatic. If you haven't been to the Comedy Store, the way it's lit is incredibly dramatic.
Very dramatic. Very dark.
Very dark. A lot of reds.
And she sits by that door like it's almost like a mafia thing, and you got to pass it. And if she lets you pass her and doesn't grab your arm, that means you did not make it to the club. Like you got to come back 6 months later, audition again.
Oh my God!
But if she grabbed your arm as you were passing her at the exit, that meant that some good news is about to come. So she grabbed my arm. And I was like, oh my God, this is happening. She pulled me close. She goes, you're very funny. That's how she talks. You're very funny. I go, thanks, Mitzi. And she goes, I'm going to make you a regular. I go, thank you, Mitzi. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is the club that Eddie Murphy performed in. Yeah. I mean, that's my hero. And then she goes, have you ever thought about wearing the outfit? And I go, what outfit? She goes, you know, the hat and the gown. I was like, what? And then I realized she wanted me to wear a turban. And I go, yeah, sure. I mean, okay. And then she's like, all right, call in on Monday. You're going to get spots. And then I walk down the steps and I go, oh my God, she wants me to wear a turban and a dishdasha.
And you're like, no.
And I just agreed to it. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. And she was older at the time. And I'm like, maybe she'll forget. Yeah. This is Sunday. I go, maybe she'll forget to tell the booker. Yeah. So then on Monday, I got a call from the booker. I knew the booker. Her name is Corey. And she goes, congratulations, I heard you're going to be a regular. I go, yeah. And she goes, and Mitzi told me you're going to wear the outfit. I was like, oh my God.
Oh no.
So now I was in this thing with them, and I was like,
do I piss her off by not wearing it, or do I wear it and then hate myself?
Yeah. And I go, Corey, I go, listen, I'm not sure if I can wear the outfit. She goes, well, you know, I go, what happens if I don't wear the outfit? She goes, do I really have to tell you? I was like, and she's trying to sell me on the outfit. She goes, listen, she goes, Mitzi's a genius. She knows what she's doing. She helped Roseanne Barr create her character. She helped, you know, Dice became Dice at the Comedy Store. I'm like, oh my God. I go, I can't go on stage with a turban. And so finally what happened was, after a little bit of back and forth, I realized that I can scare them from having to wear the outfit. But what I did was, there was an Iranian actor or comedian in Los Angeles who used to do, make fun of the mullahs. Yeah. And I guess he was on Persian television. Right. So it's
kind of a big deal.
Yeah, the regime knew about him.
Yeah.
So he was supposedly at some event in L.A. and he was making fun of the mullahs, and somebody that was a supporter of the regime showed up and threw a rock and hit him in the eye and blinded him in one eye. This is a real story.
What?
Because I've told the story since, and older Iranians were like, yeah, that was...
So the equivalent is like you were doing stand-up and someone takes a phone and throws it in your face and you go
blinds me, yeah. So this guy got hit.
Oh my God.
So I went back to the Comedy Store. I said, listen, I could wear the outfit. I totally want to wear the outfit. I'm excited about the outfit.
You're like, I bought the outfit. I got the hat. It fits.
I got two problems. I go, first of all, my father is in Iran. I go, if word got out that his son is making fun of mullahs, he's done. He's done. I go, secondly,
I have two eyes.
More importantly, no, I said, if they find out that I'm making fun of them at the Comedy Store, they may show up and blow up the Comedy Store. And she was like, oh. She was like, let me hit you back.
Yeah. She'll call you back in 10 seconds. Yeah.
5 minutes later, she's like, you know what? Just wear whatever you want. Something casual is cool. So I got away from wearing the outfit. And it's funny because I thought Mitzi'd forgotten until later when we were doing well. And she was like talking to me and Ahmed and Aaron Cater one time. And she was like, you guys are doing well, this, that, and the other. She turns to me. She goes, you were supposed to wear the outfit. I was like, oh my God, you still remember. Yeah. So what happened was, the reason Actually Evil came together was in the year 2000. Mitzi was obsessed with the news. The same way I'm obsessed with the news now, she was obsessed with the news. And she is Jewish, and she was watching the news, and there was an uprising in between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Yeah. And she felt like there was this is in 2000. She goes, she had an epiphany that there was going to be a need for a positive voice for Middle Easterners in the near future. This is before September 11th. Wow. So she goes, I want to do a night with just all Middle Eastern comedians. And she didn't have anybody. So she had seen Ahmed perform. So she made him a regular. They were asking me if I knew anybody. And I had seen Aaron Cater once. And I was like, well, he's half Palestinian. Yeah. They put him on. Sam Tripoli, who's half Armenian, we got him on. It was anybody who was brown that was not Mexican or black was on the show. Okay. There was an Indian guy on the show. There was a white girl who knew how to do a silly belly dance. It was this crazy thing.
Oh, it was that loose.
It was that loose. And Mitzi called it the Arabian Nights. So we put together the Arabian Nights show, and we started touring as the Arabian Nights just at the Comedy Store. And the name was always a little off because Iranians aren't Arabs. No. And they would remind me all the time.
They'd be like, hey, buddy, nice show, but we got to talk.
Change the name. So eventually me, Aaron, and Ahmed decided to change it to the Access to Evil Comedy Tour. And we started touring with it, and then it ended up on Comedy Central.
Became like a big thing.
It really helped all of our careers. Like it became a place where we became known because also at the time, this is 2007 when it went on Comedy Central, is when YouTube was starting to take off. So back then, it wasn't like Facebook or anything where you just put it on Facebook and the video plays. Facebook wasn't even around yet. So people would just email each other. And I was on all these email lists, and it kept coming up, and people would be like, check out this funny clip by this Persian guy. So I saw my own clips circulating, and I was like, oh, wow, this is happening.
You're onto something here.
Yeah.
So being one of the first really big like Iranian comedians in America, that was a big deal. Now that your career has matured, looking back on it, what was it like not having an example of like another Iranian person?
Yeah, it was uncharted territory. Like we really didn't know. Listen, I didn't get into this going like, oh, I'm gonna be big in the Persian community, Iranian community. I didn't.
You just wanted to do comedy. I wanted to be like Eddie Murphy.
I wanted to be like Eddie Murphy. Yeah. So and what happened was, actually starting out, I'd be at the Comedy Store at 1 in the morning. performing in front of 5 people, not just
that's how it goes.
Drunk tourists. They didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And that's where I grew. And I honestly feel that really is what made me a good comedian. Because if I had come up where it was always supported by the community, then I never would have learned how to be a comedian.
Yeah.
But now it's like I can get up anywhere in front of any audience and just do my thing.
Right.
And I feel good about it. I feel like I am a comedian that can be on any show with any comic. I can follow any comic. That's the other thing at the Comedy Store. You learn to follow anybody. I followed like people that would kill. Like, one time Andrew Dice Clay was up there and it was a small audience, but he was killing. They were loving him. And then something happened where the microphone had feedback and he just looked at the mic and then he just dropped the mic and he walked off. And you're supposed to introduce the next comedian.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? And I just ran up and I just picked it up and nobody knew who I was. I was like, hey guys,
they thought you were like an employee there fixing the mic. Yeah.
And it's funny because you learn how to adapt because you can't go up after that and be like, because he's just done material talking about sucking ass, which was funny, but it was so in his voice. And I want to talk about the Iraq War and the Bush administration. So you can't just go up and be like, so the war. So you got to go up for the first 5 minutes and be like, that's Andrew Dice Clay. Keep it going for him. Suck ass. Wow. Like
you have to. Yeah.
But you learn, dude. You learn. I've had so many times. You just adapt. I mean, I had one time at the Comedy Store. Eddie Murphy was coming in and going into. They had on Tuesday nights. They had the main room, the big room. They would do. It was called Trippin' on Tuesdays, Black Comedy Night.
Of course, yeah.
And Eddie Murphy was coming in to watch. He kept coming in to watch. Like the great comedians in there would be like Earthquake would be there, Cat Williams would be there.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy would be in the back with Charlie Murphy,
hanging out
watching. And then there's the original room, which is the room where all the other regulars are performing on a Tuesday night. Well, one Tuesday night I'm up, and Pauly Shore goes over to the main room and starts talking to Eddie. He knows Eddie. Yep. And then Pauly's going up on stage, and I'm going up after Pauly, and I see Eddie Murphy, my hero, walk past me, go into the original room, and sit in the back, sit in Mitzi's chair, and watch as Pauly. So what had happened was Pauly had told Eddie to come watch because he knows him from back in the day.
Right.
Eddie agreed, and he's sitting in the back watching Pauly, and I'm sitting in the back watching Pauly, watching Eddie watch Pauly. I'm like, this is really cool. This is really really cool. And then at one point, Pauly starts finishing, and I see Eddie get up and leave the room. And then Pauly finishes, and he goes, all right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest here tonight. Pauly didn't see Eddie leave the room. Special guest, he has not performed stand-up in 20 years, and he's going to make his comeback right here tonight for you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up. Eddie Murphy. Crickets. I mean, people get excited, but crickets instead of Eddie. No Eddie. People are like, what? Eddie Murphy. No Eddie.
Because Eddie has gone.
He's
left. Been gone.
He went back to the main room.
Yeah.
And then Pauly's like, where's Eddie? And one of the employees is like, he went back to the main room. He's like, well, go get him. And then the guy's like, okay. And then he comes back 2 minutes later.
Eddie doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, he's like, Eddie's not coming back. And he's like, well, what'd you tell him? He goes, I told him Pauly Shore wants you to come back. And he's like, what'd he say? He's like, I'm not coming back. So this goes on for like 5 minutes.
Because famously, Eddie Murphy has not gone back to stand-up till today.
Yeah. And that would have been it. That would have been the thing. So I'm sitting in the back watching this, and I'm like, Pauly, it's a lost cause. He's not coming. And Pauly's like, bummer. He's like, well, who's next?
Oh, God.
And they go, Maz. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, well, he's kind of like the Persian Eddie Murphy. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Pauly. And the audience has no idea who I am.
And so they've stacked it up against you.
Stacked it up against me.
Insurmountable.
But now, what the beauty of having performed at the Comedy Store all these years is I've learned to be honest. And that's what it is. That's how you follow the guy before you. So he goes, give it up for Maz Jobrani, and like, spattering of clapping. People don't know who the hell I am.
Yeah.
And I go up, I go, guys, I'll be honest with you. I wanted Eddie Murphy too. I go, I was in the back waiting. I go, that would have been so fucking cool if we got to see Eddie Murphy.
Right.
I go, but I'll tell you how I feel right now. I feel like we were at a bar, and it was the end of the night, and we all thought we were going to get laid by the hottest chick.
Yeah.
And she walked out.
And you're like, hey, get her back. And they're like, she's gone.
And I'm the ugly girl that was left. And we all get me.
And we have to just deal with it.
And they were so sympathetic to me at that point, right? So you learn how to deal with it.
Do you get approached by other, now that there are Iranian comedians like yourself. Do you get approached by like up and coming comedians because you're their example?
All the time. I get hit up by people all the time.
What kind of advice do they want from you?
Well, you know, it's funny. A lot of people don't realize, a lot of young people don't realize that it takes time. So a lot of times I'll get hit on Facebook with, hey, here's a video of me at some club. Please give me feedback. Can I open for you? And I don't, sometimes I'll watch a minute or two of it. But for the most part, I don't even watch it. I go, listen, dude. I go, don't put up too much of your material yet. You've been doing this for, I don't know, 6 months. You're not going to be good. I go, if you're really serious about it, get on stage 10 times a week and write. And in 5 years, you'll be good. And I just, that's the advice I give all of them. I talk to everybody, but I tell them that's the honest truth, because stand-up is not like music. Music, you could have a great voice and someone will produce it, and you could be 15 and be a pop star. Stand-up, very rarely do you see a young stand-up who hits it. And if you do see one, that person has probably been doing it since they were 15 years old. And now they're 19 or 20. But that's my advice to them. And so, and I tell them, I say, also get up in front of
different audiences.
Get up in front of a late night audience that has no idea who you are, because that will get you to your voice.
And it helps you figure out what sort of holes you have in your stand-up.
What holds you up, but also who you are. Because if you get up in front of, if I put you up in front of my shows where I'm headlining and there's 1,000 people who just bought tickets, $50 tickets, and they're going to laugh and they're excited, and 50% of that audience is Middle Eastern and 50% is other. Those Middle Eastern people, if you go up there and go, my mom is Middle Eastern and whatever, she makes me eat eggplants, people are gonna be like, oh, I love eggplants. It's totally true. You're not gonna be strong as a comedian. But if you get up in front of 5 foreigners at 1:30 in the morning and you start going, my parents love eggplants and my mom loves egg, and they're gonna
be like,
look,
what the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck are you talking about? And that's when you come out with like,
dude's talking about vegetables on stage.
These are my vegetables. And that's when you come out from like, you know, you start reflecting on yourself. And you go, listen, I'm a child of an immigrant, and it sucks being an immigrant and also trying to be cool, being a cool American kid, and I'm stuck between. And my mom wants me to eat eggplants, but
I don't want to eat eggplants.
I don't want to eat eggplants. I want to eat hot dogs and hamburgers.
And there you go.
And they start relating to you.
You got to give some context. Now, in your recent stand-up special, some of your jokes were a little racy.
Were they?
Yeah. You have a bit that compares soccer to sex.
Oh, yeah. It is. It's very sexual, I think.
Now, is that weird for you? Because, you know, the Middle Eastern, and my experience of doing like, you know, if I ever do shows with Indian people, they tend to be a little bit more conservative, right?
Yeah,
is it weird for you doing jokes like that in front of...
Well, what I've done is I've learned to diffuse, and I guess I heard an interview with Jim Gaffigan later. I guess he does something like this too. So I didn't get it from watching him. Right. I think that as comedians, we all kind of start thinking alike. So Jim Gaffigan, I think, does something where when he does a bit, then he starts doing like a side voice, like it's the mind of the person. Yeah, so he does a main voice, and then he does like a voice commenting on it to diffuse it. So what I did, and this happened to me, and again, it wasn't because I signed Jim Gaffigan. I was in Australia doing shows a few years ago, and there was the Iranian community there was a little more, I think they were newer immigrants. Since they were newer to Australia, I think that they expected me to do more material about being Iranian. They expected me to maybe do jokes in Farsi, in Persian. And I actually was on a radio show promoting it. And when I do radio for Iranian radio stations, I speak Persian. I speak it fine. But I don't do stand-up in Persian because it's a whole other thing. And also my audiences are mixed, so I can't do it. But when I was on this radio show promoting the show, some guy called in, some older Iranian guy, and he supposedly they were asking him what he wanted to talk about, and they never put him on air. But he was like, I just want to say, in Farsi, he's like, I just want to say, you asshole, why don't you perform in Persian? Are you ashamed of being Persian? That's your roots. And da-da-da-da. The guy went off on me for not doing stand-up in Persian. So I was like, holy shit, these people are judgmental. And I never even claimed to do it. And by the way, I grew up in America since I was 6. I'm more comfortable in English. And stand-up in English, you can't just translate it to Persian. It doesn't work. So that's when I was in Australia, is one of the first times I started doing, I had a couple of jokes. I think I might have mentioned masturbation in the joke. And then I was like, just instantly, I felt like I was being judged. And so I diffused that judgment by going, I know right now there's some Iranians going, oh my God, he said masturbation.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. I'm never coming to another show. And it was the best thing I ever did because right away.
They were like, okay, he addressed it.
I got them because I was like, you judgmental assholes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
Everybody masturbates and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And so ever since that happened, now if I do anything that I feel might be judged by the older or more conservative Iranians, I bring it out.
Yeah.
So for example, it's become a bit that's silly because I like to talk about political stuff.
Yeah.
But I also I'm a comedian and I talk silly stuff. So I do a bit now where in the middle of the bit I grab my crotch.
Yeah.
And then after that bit, I've started going, I know some of the Iranians are going, oh my God, he grabbed his balls. He used to do political material. Now he's grabbing his balls. And then I turn to like the non-Iranian, like an American in the audience, and I'll be like, oh, by the way, balls in Persian is tukhm, which is, that's how we say it. And then the Persians will laugh because I just said balls in Persian.
Right.
And then I'll go around the room, I'll be like, hey, Arabs, how do you say balls in Persian? I mean balls in Arabic.
Yeah.
And they'll say it. And I go, hey, Mexican, how do you say balls in Spanish? Hey, Russian guy, how do you say balls in Russian? And it becomes this thing.
Yeah.
We're going around talking about balls.
That's the best kind of crowd participation.
It's awesome. I have a blast with it because every time I find a different way to say balls, and it's become this thing. So what I'm trying to say is I put it in their face and then I call them on it. And I don't care. Like if they're really going to be offended by me saying balls or fart or whatever. So that bit about, sexually, the soccer feeling like an orgasm, because it is. You watch a game and it's just the tension builds until
it's an hour and a half of foreplay and then 30 seconds.
30 seconds, and you're like, ah. Now, granted, listen, if I do a corporate event, I pull those things out.
Right. Right.
There's always going to be some people that are offended.
Yeah.
Some people that love it. Like the movie that my movie Jimmy Westwood.
Yeah.
We wrote it with an intention to make it PG-13. Our director had a couple of raunchy ideas he wanted to add in there. There was a little bit of back and forth. We agreed to go with the raunch.
Yeah.
Because we also wanted to cross over to a younger male audience.
Right.
Having seen it with some Iranians, I was in the back of the theater and I was like, oh no. Like I felt right away, I was like, oh, they're not going to like
too
that.
much. Yeah.
And I got some emails from people going like, this is porn, this is this is that. And at the same time, I will get emails because then you get down on yourself. You're like, oh my God, why did I do that? And then the next email will be like, loved it, best movie ever.
Yeah.
And so it just runs the gamut, and you can't please everybody.
That's the thing you have to learn. It's just like you put out what you want to put out, and if some people are going to like it and some people are going to hate it, and you just have to deal with that.
That's it. And if they get your comedy, they get your comedy. If they don't, if one thing is going to turn them off completely, then I'm sorry. Like, I can't. I'm not a jukebox.
Right.
And it actually is a good thing because it means.
And also, if you do please everyone, you probably suck.
You probably suck, but it's also it's not that you suck. It's just that, inevitably, I don't care who you are. If once you're well known enough, you're not going to please everybody.
Right.
Because
right.
you may be somebody who's clean, super clean, and there's going to be people that are like, it's too vanilla.
Yeah.
And then you may be the other way. Because I've done shows too where I've kind of kept it clean. People come up, they're like, why don't you do any jokes about,
the balls? Why don't you do the balls
joke?
I had 3 different languages I had to give you.
You put your grandmother in the front row. I can't do balls jokes. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you have a new stand-up special.
New stand-up special it's on Netflix now. I'm not a terrorist, but I've played one on TV.
You have the book of the same name.
Book of the same name.
And you have the movie.
Jimmy Westwood, American hero. I want people to hear me say it. Jimmy Westwood, V-E-S-T.
We'll link to it and put all that.
V-O-O-D. Well, it's funny I have to say it because I've made audiences repeat it back to me now.
Because they'll just type Westwood.
No, they'll come up to me after the show. When is Johnny Eastwood coming out? I'm like, I just said Jimmy Westwood. How'd you get Johnny Eastwood? I swear to God. So it's available online and people can check it out.
So my question to you is, what motivated this explosion of projects?
Dude, I don't know if I'm afraid of not being able to pay my mortgage. I don't know what it is, but I also think I'm restless. I'm very restless. Like the video that you talked about, the Trump video that I did, was just me sitting around going like, I'm kind of bored. I haven't done anything in a while, and I had this idea of how ridiculous his call for extreme vetting was, and I came up with this idea for a sketch with these 2 guys, and one is a translator, and the guy who's trying to get into the country just says yes to everything they ask of him. Yeah. And I was like, let's just put it out there. And we did, and it's doing very well. Yeah. And I'm a firm believer that you just got to keep producing stuff. I've talked to my friends who are actors.
Keep writing, keep making stuff, keep doing stuff.
I could never just be an actor, because if I were just an actor, I have no idea how you just sit around waiting.
I can't do it either. I don't know how people do it. If I wasn't doing stand-up, I would never move here
Yeah.
and do acting. Because it's like, it's 99%. It's like you're going to Vegas, except you don't have that many chips. You have like a one chip, and you throw it at a roulette or whatever table from like a mile away.
Yeah.
And then you just wait for a month and just lose your mind.
And also, what do you do in between? Like, I can't, like, I need to learn to relax, because I had a pretty busy summer, and I took my family on all my tours. Tour. At the end of the summer, we had shot a pilot in March that then we were reshooting in September.
All right, your TV show.
Yeah, and they got picked up.
Superior Donuts, which will be on
CBS.
Yeah, and a lot of funny people are in that.
A lot of funny people. It's a great cast. But what happened was, we got back end of July. We were supposed to shoot it in early August. So got back early August, and they said we're going to shoot it in early September. They bumped it for a month. So I had a month. And it was crazy how the kids were going to camp.
You were just sitting on your ass.
I was sitting around, and I was like, I'm going nuts. Like, I was like, there was a couple of days where I literally had done like all of the busy work I had to do. I was all caught up, and I was like, oh God, I got nothing. And then I was like, no, wait a minute. You just came off of a long touring
You need a break.
summer. You got a gig coming up. And by the way, you're doing your 2 sets a night at the clubs. Just because you have a few hours in the day, relax.
Yeah. Before we get out of here,
Yeah.
you are married to an Indian woman.
Yes.
What interracial marriage? That's a big deal in the immigrant community.
Yeah, I've seen more of them now.
There's a ton more.
They come to my shows. They're like, I'm Iranian, she's Indian, or vice versa.
You're like a groundbreaker in that.
Groundbreaking, man. No, it was a matter of meeting. It was funny because I realized growing up, I always had I was attracted to brunettes. I was attracted to dark-haired, like curly, exotic-looking women. And I had this thing in my mind that Iranian women are very, they're very high maintenance. And I think part of that was just because I would meet these Iranian girls who always there's a formality in the Iranian community.
Right.
Where you got to like, you talk to each other in the formal way. You don't like, for example.
It's almost like an arranged marriage. Like you're speaking to them for the purpose of marriage.
Exactly.
In a week.
And we have in the language, like they have like in Spanish, they say usted and tú. Like usted is the formal. So we have shoma is formal. To is the is the casual. So when you meet a girl, even if you're of the same age, you start with like shoma, like very formal, formal. And that formality always turned me off. Yeah. So I was always like, God, like I like the look of Persian girls, but I don't like that formality.
I don't like all these rules.
So I started to like really kind of like Latinas became. I was like, oh, how about a Latin that'd be great, like a Mexican or something. And that's where in college when I took that Italian class, I met this Argentinian girl. I was like, this is great. She's beautiful. Yeah. Anyway, I had this thing, but I never thought of Indian women. Like they never fell into that thing. It just never happened until when I was in LA and my buddy was working at a law firm and he wasn't trying to set me up. It was my birthday, but he invited this girl to come join us. And this beautiful Indian girl comes along. And I was like, holy shit, like she was hot. Yeah. And then we hit it off and we got married.
What a great birthday present for you.
Dude, it was great.
Hey man,
it was great.
Instead of an iPhone, I got you your future wife.
Yeah, exactly. And it was interesting because I just told my wife recently, I was like, I think like you fit my fantasy. Like you're this beautiful exotic girl. And now
good for you. Yeah. I'm glad that you're diversifying.
Yeah.
Further diversifying Los Angeles.
More brown people.
Thank you for being here. Superior Donuts comes out when?
Superior Donuts will come out probably next spring. They haven't given us a date. We got to start filming again in December.
And the show is about?
The show is, so Jermaine Fowler, who's a very funny black comedian, New York comic, he goes into a donut shop owned by Judd Hirsch. And Judd Hirsch is the older white guy and Jermaine is the younger black guy, and he tries to modernize the place. And there's a group of patrons who come and go. It's kind of like Cheers meets a little bit of Chico and the Man. So I play an Iraqi guy who's trying to buy the donut shop because I want to buy buildings. Katie Sagal plays a cop who comes in from time to time. David Koechner plays one of the patrons.
Fantastic.
It's a great Rel Battle, who's another stand-up comedian.
Fantastic.
Darian, Darian, I forget his middle name, something Mills. Anyway, and then Baryshnikov, Mikhail Baryshnikov's daughter.
Wow.
Is also in there. It's a great cast, and CBS show, and yeah, we'll put it out there and see what happens.
Look at you. You got it. The movie.
Yeah.
You have the book and the special.
Yeah.
The special is on Netflix.
Netflix, yeah.
And you have a television show, Superior Dawn's coming out on CBS.
And I still feel like I got to go do something.
Well, you have plenty of time now.
Yeah. Life is good. Knock on wood, man.
Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Look at that. Look at that. Okay, this man has done everything. Okay, he's done theater. I didn't know that about him. I didn't know that he was a grassroots celebrity. I also didn't know that I did know, but this is what happens, guys, when you have an interracial marriage, okay? That man, his children are going to be the future, okay? They're automatically the most beautiful people in the world, okay? Because that's what happens when you have mixed race kids. They come out more beautiful than you. What are you, just one thing? Switch it up, man, for your kids. Do something. So this interview was fantastic. I'm still impressed by his achievements. I have not written a book. I have not put a special out. I'm on a show. It's called Wrecked. It's TBS, Tuesdays, 10, 9 Central. But we don't need to get into that. We're shooting a second season. Enough about me. I'm doing great. Not wearing glasses. I'm not wearing contacts because I'm just living by the seat of my pants. That's a phrase that white people use. I honestly don't know what it means. So anyways, guys, next week, Ali, my trusted co-host, the love of my life, my future husband, will be here. Also spread that rumor up online. I do not think he will enjoy that. But let's do it. Asif and Ali, 2017. Forever with a 4 and then EVA. Anyways, next week, who do we have? Asif? Well, we have our co-host, Ali Baluch, is going to be here, kicking it up. Zayn is going to be back in full force. He was kind of sad that the duo wasn't happening, but we're going to be back here, and our guest is Super Ego. He's a huge, gigantic YouTuber. You're going to love him. If you don't already know him, you probably should know him, and if you don't, you should ask somebody. That's what rappers say if you don't know who they are. It's like a common phrase. You better ask somebody. You'll know. Your cousin's probably a DJ or a rapper. Ask him. But what I need to tell you is that you need to subscribe to our channel because it's becoming the #1 best podcast in the world, and that's just not according to our mothers. It's according to the actual statistical numbers. And the reason why this is happening is because you are telling your friends about this, and you're subscribing, and you're hitting likes on our Facebook page, which has become a huge thing now. And we are, of course, on iTunes and Stitcher and all that. And finally, we would like to thank our producers, Sumair Khan and Imran J. Khan, for putting this together with us. And guys, next week, Super Ego. We'll see you there. This is The Apartment. I'm Asif Ali. That will be Ali Baluch next week. Shout out to Zayn Malik, still looking sexy as fuck, as F, depending on what you want to use. I'm Asif Ali. Goodbye.